our one and only Kristi Jared.
Do you feel exhorted and encouraged by that?
Yeah.
That what we're doing matters. Even the small things, they all count. They all count with Jesus. What we're going to be talking about today is resilience. Being resilient is to be able to go through difficult things and recover from them. It's important to be alive, to live. It's important to minister to other people, to be those who are resilient. One aspect of resilience that we're going to look at this morning is emotional capacity. So capacity is the ability to contain or hold something. If you think about physical capacity, we all have a physical capacity. We also have an emotional capacity. I want you to think of, there's this, you want to hold that one? There's this, and there's this. Can you tell the difference? If I'm feeling something and it's this big, but my emotional capacity is only this big, it's going to be a problem. Have you ever felt overwhelmed? When we feel overwhelmed, it's because what we're experiencing and feeling is more than we have the ability to contain, because we're all human. When something is too much, the emotion of it's too much, that's when we're going to feel overwhelmed. And the way God designed us is when I experience something that Jesus never ever intended for me to experience, but I did, and the emotion and pain is this much, but my capacity is only this much. God designed our brains with protective mechanisms to protect us from that. Isn't He good? He knew that we would be living in a fallen world and we needed help. So He designed our brains with means to protect us from things that are too much, and that includes emotions and what we're feeling. One of the ways that our brain protects us is by our having no awareness of it. We've experienced things, but it will not be in our consciousness. And so we will not be aware of the pain that's attached to that memory. As little ones, when we're little, it's called amnesia. We don't consciously choose to forget it when we're little. It's an automatic protective mechanism when we're little, and we experience things that no child should ever experience. The brain protects that child by taking that out of the consciousness and putting it into the subconscious. The memory's still there. It's just tucked away because the emotion and pain of it's too much. There are other ways that our brain can protect us. It also protects us by allowing us to have the memory, but it pulls out the emotions of the memory. So we can have a memory that's a traumatic memory, but we don't feel any emotion when we remember it. The first time I saw this was when I was at Adult and Teen Challenge. I sat in a class one day and listened to a precious girl tell me about a time when she was kidnapped and gang raped, getting prepared to be trafficked. And as I sat there watching her and looking at her as she was telling me this, I was thinking, you're telling me this the same as if you were telling me what you had for breakfast this morning. Do you even know what you're telling me right now? Because there was no emotion coming out of her. It was just very matter of fact. And what I understand now is that was a protective mechanism. Her brain allowed her to remember it, but the emotion had been pulled out because it would have been way too much.
Wow.
Our brain can also protect us by allowing us to have partial memories. There can be memories where we remember the beginning of something, but we don't remember how it ended. Because how it ended is the part where it was too much. And these are all things that a gracious, loving Father designed within our brain to protect us until it's time, because His heart is to heal us from those things. That's His heart, and His goal is for Him to heal us. It's so tender. So as ministers, it's important for us to understand that a person's brain makes these decisions subconsciously. They are not conscious choices. We do not consciously choose amnesia. We do not consciously choose to pull the emotions out. It's a mechanism that's automatic in the brain. Do you understand what I'm saying? So sometimes when we are with someone ministering to them, we might feel like they're not telling us the whole story. Or we might sense, it almost feels like they're hiding something from us. Have you ever experienced that? It's really not our place to judge whether this is a conscious or subconscious decision. It doesn't matter. If someone is sharing something, but consciously it's too much, and they're thinking, it's too much, I cannot say this out loud. It's a protective mechanism, because if they say it out loud, it might be too much. If subconsciously the brain is saying, you're not going to share this because it's too much, it's a protective mechanism. And the good news is Jesus knows. And he knows, and that's what matters. It's okay if we don't know. It's not necessary for us to know. He knows. Jesus is the one who heals. We just get to be with people while he's healing them. That's our honor and our joy. He is the one with the calendar. He's the one with the clock. And he's the one with the clipboard. Our part as ministers, our main goal is to connect someone to Jesus. That's our main goal. And once we connect them with Jesus, then all we have to do is follow his lead. We've gained the tools. We have lots of options, but he's the one who's leading. Our part is just to connect them with him. So the importance of growing emotional capacity is vital for healing. And we will only heal as we have the emotional capacity to match the pain in the memories. So if there's a memory, if there is something traumatic that we need healing for, but it's more than we have the capacity to go to, before we can go there, we're going to need to grow capacity. I hope that makes sense. There are times where we get healing for a memory, and then later on it comes back up again and it hurts again. And we can be frustrated and discouraged and think, have you ever thought, I thought we already did that one. I thought I was good. But the good news is Jesus knows the timing. And there are some places where we were healed as much as we had the capacity to go to. But as we're healing and growing capacity, then he says, okay, can we go get the rest of it? And so it's not a condemning thing, it's actually a good thing. It means now we're ready. We're ready to go for more. And he gives us so much grace. He's so gracious to us. In his healing, there's an ebb and flow. And I love this. So if you can picture being at the beach and the waves coming in, but it's those gentle lapping waves where the waves just come in and kind of lap the shore, kiss the shore and go back out. This is his rhythm. And it's so gracious. So it's joy and rest. Joy and rest. We experience joy by being with him. The word tells us, in your presence is fullness of joy. We experience joy when we're with each other, with people who love us. And then there's the rest. And that's allowing our hearts, our minds, and our bodies to rest and recover. I don't know about you, but I have learned in ministry that healing is hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard. Getting free is, Jesus is the one doing it, but it's exhausting physically, mentally, and emotionally.
It is. Yeah.
So there are a lot of times when I'm with someone afterward that I will encourage them, will you make sure you drink a lot of water the rest of the day? Because your eyes let a whole lot of water out. I ministered to a girl last week online. She had worked 10 hours that day, driven home and gotten straight online with me, and we were together for almost 3 hours. So when we got through, I said, would you do me a favor? Would you take my friend and go feed her? She's not eaten for hours and she needs some food. Will you promise me that when you get through here, you'll go take her and feed her? And she said, okay, because I wanted her to care for herself and let herself rest and recover. It's important when we do that. You know how you leave and you're like, I feel run out in the best way. But we need that quiet to recover. And it's part of the healing process. It's part of becoming resilient, is experiencing that. This is for us personally as ministers, for us to grow and nourish our emotional capacity. And it's for us to understand that our receivers need that too. It's vital for both. So as ministers, we are only able to be with someone in their pain as we have the capacity to match the pain that they're sharing. And if someone comes and they have been through what we call complex trauma, and it's this big, but our capacity is only this big, it's going to feel hard. Because it's hard for us to match this. And that just means we're human. And it's okay. When we reach the limit that we have as ministers, we may find ourselves in ministry pulling back. Sometimes we might find ourselves dissociating for a minute. Our minds wander off and they said something and we didn't hear it. That's called dissociation. That's what the brain does when it's getting to be too much. It's just an automatic thing we do. Have you ever been in ministry and you found yourself feeling really tired and almost dozing off for just a second? Not because you didn't care, but it was like, what is going on? It just means we're reaching the limit of our emotional capacity because we're human. And it's okay. So as ministers, one of our important parts is for us to keep growing capacity ourselves. And the good news is neuroplasticity. We have the endless ability to grow. This is just a normal part of preparing to minister. And we talk about how do we prepare for ministry. We want to be so close to Jesus, really connected with him ourselves. We want to be feeding ourselves so much on the Word. We want to be spending time in prayer, knowing what we've learned in training. We want to keep getting healing ourselves. And a vital part of all of that preparation includes our growing our own capacity. This is the groundwork for healing and deliverance ministry. Is that right there? So I'm just curious, what did you hear in all that?
How complex God's design is.
Use a mic.
That's the microphone.
How complex God's design is of us. This goes way beyond what happens or with animals, plant life. We're just so unique, and his design is perfect. And we're just beginning to understand pieces of it.
Can you hear me? It just gave me more understanding because I did have a ministry receiver who did seem blocked, and it didn't feel like we accomplished much, but it brought understanding to me today that the Lord is the one who has to enlarge the capacity in that person before they can safely do the work.
That's good.
I heard that it's just as important for us as ministers to build capacity and also to take care of ourselves physically in preparation for ministry as it is for the person we're ministering to. And you know, I see a lot of you, and it's like when I drive past here and I see the cars when I go, you know, to and from work, and I know what you guys are doing, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting physically and emotionally, and And so I think, yeah, we need to pay attention to ourselves as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking too, is we have limited capacity, but then also the person we're ministering to is in process. And in the ministry room, it's not about pushing, it's about why are we there for that day? Maybe it's just that we showed up and that person's not isolated.
Yeah.
They just need some time to sit with somebody and get comfortable, and then the rest will come. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, what day was that? Thursday last week. Lou and I ministered to each other. She ministered to me and then I ministered to her. And I needed that so much, and we both had to go to places that were so brutally painful and shameful that we didn't want to go there. But not only did I get healing, I remembered something. When we're not regularly exposing ourselves to healing, it's easy for us to forget how brutal it is for our ministry receiver to come in and open up their hearts. It's brutal sometimes.
That's good.
I mean, I've had people stand in the doorway like with their hands like this going, I don't want to come in. Those are the ones that are the most honest. Others are just literally physically shaking like a leaf, you know? And it's easy for us to forget that this is brutally painful and brave of them to be willing to go to those places, and we don't want to treat that lightly ever. Because I remembered the other day, like, oh yeah, this is hard to be on this side of the couch. Really hard.
Kristi, how do you recognize like when you need to rest and recover? And I'm sure it's different for each one of us, but would you say there are some pretty common things to recognize when you need that rest and recover? Because sometimes I've just got my head down and I'm just going and going until I literally like fall apart.
That's good. That's a good question.
The question she asked is, what are some things to help us know when we need to practice the joy and the rest? And my simple answer is going to be daily.
Yeah.
Every single day. It should be a part of our normal day.
Yeah.
And once it becomes a part of our normal day, then it's not something we go to when it's a 5 o'clock alarm.
Yeah, you're right.
That's good. That's really good.
And that's why I go back to the picture of the gentle waves lapping on the beach. It should be a normal part of our daily rhythm. Our daily rhythm.
Which means we cannot overschedule ourselves.
You need to use your mind.
Which means we cannot overschedule ourselves. We're not going to, because this is vital. It's making it a priority, right?
Which means, and this is hard for some of us, we have to learn to say no.
Yes.
We have to learn to say, you know what, I don't think I'm supposed to be the one that handles this. I think somebody else can do this. Or I can do this, but I need to put it out a week or two. Because God's timing is perfect and He's not pushing us to fit things in. We're the ones that do that.
He knows each of our capacity limits, and He is not demanding we go beyond capacity. We do that. Yeah. So we're going to throw a little neurotheology in because it's me. We are not born with fully developed brains, all of us. Our brains are not fully developed. The executive control center, when we're born, has not developed yet, and it's the part that's right here. And in order for that part of our brain to develop, we need to bond and attach in safe, loving relationships. That's how it grows. It's the way God designed it. His design was for babies to be lovingly cared for, and that grows their brains. This is what I've told my girls when they're with their little babies, like, you're growing your baby's brain. You're awesome. So if we don't experience that growing up, that has an effect on us, on our development. As we grow and develop, we become ready to experience emotions and to learn how to recover from them. So the period that we have unfortunately named the terrible twos, that's the period of development where babies are ready to start feeling emotions they've never felt before. They've never experienced them. They don't know what to do with them. They need help. So if you think of a little one having an absolute meltdown, they're feeling something and it's too much. It's this big and they're down here and they don't know what to do with that. And so they're overwhelmed. It's too much and they need help. We all grow up in human families, and what the people that raised us knew, they taught their children. And what they didn't know, they can't teach them because they don't know themselves. So everybody learns to grow up knowing what to do with certain emotions, and there are certain emotions that they may not know what to do with because no one ever showed them or helped them. We hone it down to what we call the big 6 emotions. There's like 5,000 flavors, but it boils down to the big 6, and they are sad, anger, disgust, shame, anxiety and fear, and despair. And the truth is, for all of us, any emotion that we avoid feeling, that we never feel, and we work hard not to feel, is simply an emotion we never learned what to do with it. That's it. That's an emotion that has this capacity because we never learned what to do with that one. So for example, in our culture, often boys are allowed to express anger growing up because it makes you tough. But often boys are not allowed to express sadness because that means you're weak. And as we all know, shame is a powerful tool. So some boys grow up being shamed if they're sad or have tears because it means you're weak. And so they never learn how to feel sad and what to do with it. In comparison, little girls are often allowed to feel sad. It's okay for girls to have tears, but little girls often are not allowed to express anger. And in our culture, women have been called names if they expressed anger because it's not okay. And so there comes shame again. And if we're not allowed or we are shamed for feeling emotions, then we grow up with a very small capacity for them. We don't know what to do when we feel it. And that causes lots of problems. So let's go back to the ministry room. If a receiver is sharing a memory and there is an emotion in that memory that we do not have a capacity for, it's going to be difficult for us to be present with them, to attune with them, and to understand what they're sharing, because everything in us is wanting to shut it down. And that's simply because we don't know how to have that emotion ourselves, so we don't know what to do with them having that emotion either. The skills we use to grow capacity are some of what we practice every time at Thrive as ladies. This is what we do. We're learning these skills so that we can grow our capacity, so that we can be more resilient. And these are skills, they're called relational skills because you need relationship to learn them. You need other people, and we practice them together.
Can you describe to everybody what Thrive is?
Thrive is, it's our discipleship arm here at Heart Garden for those who have experienced healing and deliverance. And it's a small group, I guess you could say that meets twice a month. And we come together and we're with each other and we share and connect and we practice these skills together because we're becoming resilient together.
And we have a men's group and
We have a men's group and we
a women's group.
have a women's group. So I've been walking through the most difficult season of my life, and in the last few weeks, Jesus has been softly, and I appreciate his softness, reminding me to practice these skills. And for me, when Jesus talks neuroscience, I'm all in. Like, I'll talk neuroscience all day with Jesus.
Love language.
It is, because he's like, he knows what he knows, I know what he's talking about. And he has been reminding me to do this over and over again. And I've had a lot of moments where I've been impatient and I've said, okay, Jesus, I know you know that there's like some really big stuff going on right now. I don't have time to waste on that. And he has reminded me, Kristi, this is about you becoming resilient. The way you're going to get through all this is by doing what's needed to grow resilience so that you can go through this. They're really important. And so I have been practicing them. There have been times where it has felt ridiculous to practice some of these in the midst of what I'm going through. But I will tell you, I'm feeling the effect of it. I'm feeling what it's doing for me. In the last 2 weeks, I had ministry with Andrea. And in that time with her, I was doubled over. I was hurting so bad I could hardly cry because I was in so much pain. And then I had to get up and leave and go to an appointment. But I'm telling you, in an hour, I had recovered and I was completely at peace. And I was kind of walking around like, how did that happen? I'm like, how is this even happening? I think it was the next day, I was in the prayer room here with Rose and had not planned on going there, but I found myself again in the middle of all the pain. And an hour later, I had recovered and I was at peace. It was surreal. And then the next day, Penny and I had a ministry session and we were ministering to someone, and when that ministry session was over, I found myself doubled over again. And in that moment, I was deep in despair because that is an emotion I've never been able to recover from. My capacity has not even been this big. When I go to despair, that is the worst place I can go because I can't get out of it. It's the place of, I don't want to be here anymore because I don't know how to get out of what I'm feeling right now. And that's what I felt with Penny, that she was so loving and kind to be with me and stay with me. And would you believe it, about an hour later, I was back at peace again because I had recovered from it. So I guess Jesus knows what he's talking about. And in the middle of all this, Jesus keeps inviting me to minister to other people who are in complex trauma, like I am. And what I'm finding is because of what I'm experiencing, I'm able to match the pain of what they're bringing to me. And I am with people who have deeper pain, really, I guess, than I've ever had before when I minister to people. The people that are coming to me now, they have complex trauma. But because my capacity is growing, it makes me more able to match them where they are. So when you look at your own life, what stands out to you in this part? What do you see in yourself? What stood out to you and all that applies to yourself?
Let's say.
I see sometimes in the paperwork that we got, Kristi, that I think it was the word shame. Can you hear me?
I can.
I think it was the word shame on the paperwork that we had given to us, because of family members who reject me or don't want to be with me because of my faith. And it's a very big chasm between us, and it's very hurtful because I love them and I want to have connection, but it's very surface. So I think that's one of the emotions that I experience.
Lois.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Vanna.
I think I'm feeling very little capacity. Like when I'm hearing you talk about capacity, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't have a whole lot. But I think I also see huge growth from the past 2 years. And one of those is Lori had asked, hey, would you like to meet semi-regularly to work through something? And my first response was, okay, well, can you define that? Because I need to know if I have the capacity. Is what I now am realizing I was asking without realizing. So that even just my capacity to think about my capacity has grown, which is cool. And then I think also sometimes I grieve what I've had to give up to be here. I used to have a business. I used to have a lifestyle I liked, I enjoyed, and I don't have that right now. And if I had that, I wouldn't be here. And so I've really had to say I can't have my lifestyle right now because it requires this much emotional capacity to run that business and to scale it and to do all that. And I give that up, and I'm grieving that because my lifestyle has changed. But it's affording me the emotional capacity to say things like that, to take stock of my capacity. It's hard. I really am grieving it. And it's like, it's not just, okay, the vacations aren't as nice or the cars aren't as nice. It's like daily little things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's hard. But it's
So we make trade-offs.
yeah.
As we become aware that we have a capacity, we get to choose.
One more thing. And the pressure of our communities is to not make the trade-off. The pressure in the church, like people in church tell me, well, God doesn't really care if you pursue that business. God really does want you to prosper in your finances. And you really do have to say, Lord, what are you asking me to do? And what he's asking some people to do is not always what he's asking you to do. And it's important.
And can I tell you, Jesus values. He values those choices that we make when we say, this is worth giving my capacity to. He knows. Whether anybody else in the community knows or understands at all, Jesus does, and he values it, and he says it's worth it. And I see what you're doing.
So what I'm getting out of it kind of goes back to what Andrea said at first about test and testimony. The things that he walks each of us through individually, if we allow him to work in us and grow us and stretch us through it, it gives us more capacity so that we are able to pour out more, so that we have a greater capacity by sharing our test as our testimony. And in my case, I've seen this where people who maybe wouldn't listen to being, taught or preached to, for lack of a better word, but they'll listen to a story from somebody, and I can tell them what I walked through that relates to what they're walking through, and that helps them. So in allowing him to grow my capacity and leaning into him in my hard times, and then sharing that with somebody else, it's like my bowl got bigger, like Kristi's bowl's over there, and then I was able to pour that much more into somebody else, and he ends up using it.
So, how well do you know yourself? So, we're handing out 2 handouts, and I think our main group has these, where you guys can see them too. There's 2 handouts here, and the first one is just an assessment to see how well we're able to feel the big 6. So it's kind of just like an internal looking at yourself. How well can I feel these? How comfortable am I feeling them? What do I do with these? And then the second handout is an assessment of how difficult is it for me to recover when I do feel these? And how difficult or easy is it for me to be with someone else feeling these? And I want you to hear the word assessment. All we're doing is getting to know ourselves a little better. That's it. We're all human. So there's no standard to attain to. It's simply becoming aware. If there's an area where I'm weak in that and my capacity is small, good news. I can grow it. Not a big deal. If there's an area where it's difficult for me to be with someone, good news. I can do something about that. It's okay. Yeah.
Hey, could you talk a little bit more about disgust? Because I guess I've never really thought of it as an emotion, as more of like a momentary feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about how that is more of an emotion?
She's asking about disgust, and so if you look on the first assessment, I will tell you this has been really helpful to me. Sadness, the definition they give here, sadness is I've lost some of my life, or I've lost something valuable. We feel sad, you know, it can be anything. It's not necessarily material, but I've lost something and I feel sad. Anger is I need to protect myself to make something stop because something's wrong. When we feel anger, it's because something is wrong. Disgust, it says this is not life-giving. This is something that's not life-giving. So I'll just go there. Can't believe I'm going there. I was in Panera one day, and I was sitting there working, and I looked over, and there was a man about 20 feet away from me, and he was picking his nose. And I was learning this, and I remember looking at him and thinking, you are not bringing me joy. Get your finger out of your nose. This is not life-giving.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps. And then shame is, you are not glad to be with me. If I look at someone and the look, like if he had looked at me, he could see I was not glad to be with him in that moment. And he could have felt shame, like maybe I should stop doing that. You know, because that would be the purpose of the shame, is like, maybe you shouldn't be doing that because you are not bringing me joy. And then fear is when there's danger and I need to get away. And then despair is I don't have the time and resources I need. There's something I need and I don't have enough, and I don't know what to do because I don't have enough. Does that help?
Yeah, it still seems momentary, so like I'm struggling to, like, how do you get stuck in that?
You can get stuck in it. That just means that that's something you can do.
Okay.
I wonder if it's. I wonder if it's you're stuck in seeing the negative, right? So when you look at something, you're like, I can't do that. Even though there could be a positive in it, but you're only seeing the negative. Like, she's like, he's picking his nose, and I'm like, but he's way over there and he's not coming near you. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that's the difference.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good, that's really good.
I feel like disgust can come from somebody's sinful choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can be disgusted at something that somebody has chosen to do that's been so harmful. It disgusts you, and I think that's how it becomes an emotion. Not just like something that you just look at and then you can walk away. It's something that has happened that's affected you, that's so bad that it disgusts you. Does that change it?
Yeah, I think disgust and annoyed. There's my connection.
That was what I was thinking it was.
Or judgment, yeah.
So,
I have a really good example of disgust, and that is, there was a show, Archie Bunker, and how he spoke to his wife Edith. And I figured out that TV portrayed men as bumbling fools most of the time, and that disgusted me. But what disgusted me even more was how he could talk to his wife that way.
That did not bring you joy.
No, so that, you can know somebody who does that, right? And so that would be a real life thing that you would hope.
But isn't the point of the.
Hey guys, remember, if you're gonna talk, use the mic.
I think what she's talking about though is how we can remain in that and not feel the effect. So to become more like Jesus, we can see the disgust of the sin, but we can stay there and it doesn't overwhelm us. So I think, I just wanted to distinguish that point,
good.
right? Like, as a minister, you can go, wow, I'm so sorry, right? You're not so overwhelmed with the disgust of what it is.
Which is what the capacity is all about. It's the growing the capacity in it. So that we can feel it, you know, and even as ministers, there are times where when we leave the ministry room, it's hard for us to recover. Sometimes what people have shared with us, it's hard for us to recover. And that simply means we're struggling with our capacity with what that was. And that just means we're human. But we can grow that capacity so that we can do more. So we're gonna take some time and we're gonna do groups of 3. So I just want you to break up into groups of 3. And what I want you to do is do these 2 assessments. And once you have finished them, then just spend a little time sharing with the people in your group of 3 what stood out to you in that. But what I want to tell you in this is, well, I don't remember. It ran out of my mind. I dissociated. So. Okay, we're going to take about 20 minutes. So let's come back at 10:20. And if you'll just break in groups of 3.